So Dos, our first league defeat, what do you reflect on that one?
Yeah, deserved defeat. I thought Oxford thoroughly deserved to win today. They've hit the bar and the post and then got their reward, in the last 2 minutes of the game. And if you don't track runners and don't do the stuff that we'd worked on all week, again, it's happened to us a minute last week before the end of the game and 2 minutes before the end of this game. But it would mask over if we'd have got our point, nicked a point. Sometimes you take the point and you've got to accept you've not had a great day. Struggling obviously, without Joas Nembrant, Wrighty wasn't really fit, having looked at him on the pitch. We're struggling in terms of personnel. That hurts, but that's not to take away from, I didn't think it was a great game, if I'm being honest. It was hard to watch. They keep possession very, very well. I don't remember too many chances for them apart from the post and the bar. It felt a hard watching the game as a manager. But as I said, they deserve that win today.
You mentioned the 2 late goals this game and last. Is that a concern for you?
No, it's just, listen, sometimes we always want to try and go for the win. And if you look at the substitutions we made, again, they're attacking substitutions. A point in this, a point today would have been okay, but it's the wins that help you. So occasionally I'll sacrifice a loss against just getting a point, because in this league you need wins.
And credit to Oxford to staying in it as well, away from home.
Yeah, listen, I thought they were good. They nullified, us on the day, that's for sure. I thought the front three for us were ineffective. I thought our midfield three, I thought Oscar in particular was probably our standout in there. I thought Josh Passley was, we knew we'd get space in the wide areas, but perhaps the delivery in today wasn't great. And we probably didn't get enough numbers into the box like we normally do. So, like I said, you've got to be, you've got to look at it and sometimes you just got to dust yourself down and think, that was the right result today and we need to get on.
And a positive today, Tommy Wright getting some minutes as well.
Yeah, it was a positive until, unfortunately, got sent off at the very end. I think he didn't agree with the referee's decision. It wasn't a penalty. I think all the ground believe it was a penalty. I think the Oxford City boys told us they thought it was a penalty. But as I said, if we'd got away with if we'd scored the penalty and got a draw, probably want a right reflection on how the game was.
And you mentioned to me earlier in the week when we stood over there about how you want that game after a defeat on the Wednesday. You've got that this week.
Yeah, another good game against Bath. I think that we've got to dust ourselves down, go again Tuesday. We've got to see what personnel we've got available to us in this league. If you can get your best 11, 12, 13 out right, then you get consistency. At the moment, as I said, we've lost 5 or 6 out of the group. I know that Jerry Gill's had it at Bar City, where he's lost 4 or 5 of his better players. And what you'll see at this level is when you lose your real top players, your Pryors and your Wrights and whatever, they make a big difference in terms of, those 2 or 3 components in your team. If you haven't got them, it can make a big difference. And that's what we've really seen the last couple of games. We've been struggling to put a side out, if I'm being honest. There's 2 or 3 people that played today that marginally passed fitness tests, but they didn't look themselves. But when we're flying, we look very, very good. So I know the reasons behind it. Doesn't make it any less disappointing, but unless you've got a squad of 26 and 27 players, which you can't have at this level, then unfortunately you do get games where you're not quite at it in terms of the ability levels of missing a Jason Pryor.
Do we have a chance of getting any of those back?
No, if I'm being honest. No, it's Jason's having a scan, I think, on Monday or Tuesday. As I said, I don't know if Wrighty's really helped himself today in the bigger picture, but ultimately, you just got to keep going with what you've got.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
Cheers, Adam.